Okay then, so let's get to a bit of ECW. Dan Low music, not really a question, but a thanks from the fans, especially that RVD feud. Those two put on some of the best matches ever. Big Riggs wrote in, says, yeah, I'm not great at coming up with questions, but I could watch RVD and Jerry play Scrabble against one another. My absolute favourite matchup.
That'd probably be a very violent Scrabble game.
Q. Shenanigans says, how did Jerry and Rob come up with all those spots? It was like a martial arts movie, but without the wires and no chance to reshoot. Ask him if Jerry likes martial arts and what his favourites, if they were part of your inspiration.
Well, I never did martial arts. I always wished I would have done some sort of martial art just for the flexibility alone. I think that's what helped Rob avoid a lot of injuries because before a show, he'd be in the ring stretching for an hour. But I always loved watching years ago on USA Network Kung Fu Theater, but I never did any martial arts. But it was fun to watch. But what was the other part of the question?
Oh, how did you come up with these spots originally?
Like I was telling you earlier, I looked at us as we were both good guys. So, and we years and years ago, I never wanted to see two good guys wrestle. I wanted to see a good guy, bad guy fight. And so we were just trying to, I think, to make it exciting to have two good guys go at it and fun for us too. But, and in each match, we tried to tell a story that we learned from the prior match. And so we would tweak things, or maybe the spot would get a little longer because we learned what the other guy was, kind of reading each other's minds and learning from the prior match, and just have the match change and evolve each match.
With that being said, Honest Reviewer has written in and says, how many times did RVD potato you with one of the kicks to the head?
I would need a calculator. I don't know. No,
what was the kick that always? What was the kick that would like catch you the most, or that would catch you off guard from Rob?
The high. Oh wow, the one that would catch me a lot was when he'd be on the top and just jump off and do that forward thrusting kick, or he called it the hi-ya kick. that would get you sometimes. But he was quick though. Man, he was quick. So there's times when you saw me ducking his kicks, I was ducking for my life because they would come in fast. And there was one night we were just ad-libbing, just wrestling, exchanging holds. All of a sudden he jumps up and does this reverse thrusting kick and about pushes my eyeball to the back of my skull with his heel. And within 30 seconds, I can see my eye closing. That was a real fun one. And I realized that night, I didn't even know. I went in the shower afterwards and I went to blow my nose and my eye just went and shut. So here he had fractured my orbital bone, but I didn't go to the doctor or anything. I thought, what are they going to do? You can't put a cast on my head. So I just kept on wrestling next 2 nights in a row.
Did you learn to avoid the kick more from that, that point on?
Oh, yeah.
Next one, Extreme Pop says, did you smoke weed with Rob Van Dam during the 5-star... I'm not sure during the 5-star classics you both had. What was your form of partying? Any fun or wild stories about back with Rob, I guess?
Oh, I smoked back then, but I would always wait till I was done working. I could never do it before because I'd turn into a giggling schoolgirl. So there's no way I could have wrestled like that, but I couldn't function. And I always thought I was never going to do anything. I was never going to have a drink before a match because I always thought if I ended someone's career, I just couldn't live with myself if I screwed up because I did have a drink or I smoked before a match.
Next one is Ill-Advised Films. He asks, how come as an underdog you lost every single match against RVD when he was already established as one of the best? Booking-wise, you getting the victory would have only elevated your career but not hurt his. Do you agree with that?
To me, like, how can I put this?
I was gonna say, it didn't hurt Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah, no. And that was different. Tommy was usually losing to heels, and get screwed over, which is okay because the money is in the chase. Because once you get it, where do you go from there? Especially when, like, I liked my feud with Nigel in Ring of Honor, where I was, and me and Tyler Black were having the feud, or the how would you say it? We were challenging each other as to who was the number one contender, and then me chasing Nigel. And for me, the most fun is, like I said, it's in the chase and getting there. Then that's where the money is. That's the story. And but once you win it, there's only one place to go. Back down.
Mm-hmm. In This is Salvatore M. I've already teed you up for this question because I wanted your response off camera. In early parts of the God's sake. In the early parts of the 2000s, there was a huge spot fest movement that infected the Northeast independents. This led to a lot of botched up video game car crash type matches where the wrestlers seemed like they were just doing choreographed movements rather than just working. Did you ever look at what the kids were doing and say to yourself, this is what I created?
It's, people say that we had a big influence on to what had happened, but I didn't mean for it to get to the point where it is, where it doesn't even look like two guys are trying to win a match. It just looks like a choreographed Cirque du Soleil exhibition. And so, because when Rob and I were doing our spots, we were actually trying to hit each other with wrestling moves. Like I would try and, one time he did the splits and I dropped the leg on his head. Well, of course, next time he's going to learn from that. And when I go to drop the leg, he's going to move and sit up, and we go from there. So that's the kind of the story we were telling. But we were trying to hit each other with wrestling moves. Like I would trip him. I'd try and drop an elbow on him. He'd move. He'd do that flip leg drop. I would move. And now we're at the stalemate. But here's the difference too. A lot of the guys, when they do these standoffs or whatever, they're not even at the end of it. They'll turn to the camera or just do a pose or look at the crowd and hold their arms out and do the Stewart and go, look what I can do, and beg for a reaction. At the end of me and Rob's, we're right away going after each other. And now we see we're both standing up and ready. That's the stalemate. Because we were still trying to stay on the offense, but we see the other guy's already ready. Now we're stopped dead in our tracks because we're both there ready. So it looked like we were still trying to go after each other. But you got the stalemate there. Instead of turning into the crowd and holding your arms out and going, look what I can do. Or looking at the hard cam and posing. Or we still made it look like we were trying to win a match. And like I said, we weren't doing kung fu theater exhibition. We were trying to hit each other with wrestling moves. We weren't doing, I don't even want to say because I don't want to cut down other people's work. I mean, there's so many talented guys out there who can do stuff I never could do, but you can still make it look like you're trying to win a match.
Mm-hmm. If one was to ask you, what is the single one match with Rob Van Dam that you would put on a pedestal above all others? What would you tell people to go and watch?
It was my favorite match of ours. Wasn't one of our pay-per-views. It was at a TV taping at the ECW Arena in Philly, and I think it was in around September 18th of '99. And the story was, me and Rob were advertised to Wrestle, and they started out the show showing an ambulance pulling away, and they said, I got jumped by the Impact players, and they were taking me to the hospital. So the last match of the show, instead of me wrestling Rob, it was Lance. And then, of course, Justin ran in. I think Rhino ran in. And then I ran in to help. And then Johnny Smith came in, and now we were outnumbered, and the heels left me and Rob Lane. And then when the heels left, I was leaving and Rob grabbed the mic and challenged me. And so I accepted the challenge and we started wrestling. And that was my favorite match because how we had the fans that night. And the whole first half of the match, it was RVD, RVD. And the first spot of the match was a double down because we already had our asses kicked by the heels. So it was just selling right from the get-go. And we had an impromptu spot, a table spot where we didn't have to move it, touch it, nothing. And so it was a surprise. It came out of the middle of nowhere. So we didn't have to do any rearranging the furniture, nothing. And he just clotheslined me off the apron. I went through that and they were helping me up and out to the back. And I stopped and I pushed everyone off me and I turned around and went back to the ring and continued the match. And that's when we had them and we turned the tide from that. The last half of the match, it was Jerry. And we had the place, they were blowing the roof off the place. And after one of the kickouts, we were close enough to each other. Rob says, fucking awesome. And I said to Rob, I go, we got him. And that was my favorite match of ours, just how we had the fans that night.